Welcome to Interior Analysis. I'm Evan Westman,
I'm Jelani Kelly.
I'm David Jones.
and today we're doing a 2-for-1. We're pitting the two drugs that give you access to 100% of your brain movies, Limitless versus Lucy. So it's going to be kind of a head-to-head, but I was approaching this less as which one's better and just comparing how they both do the same thing. I found some quick stats on them before we get into it. Their budgets, Limitless was a little bit cheaper, 27 million, Lucy's 40 million, but Lucy made almost 3 times as much as Limitless. They both did decent. Like Limitless is about 150 million, Lucy's about 450 million. So Lucy made way more money across a few different platforms. It looks like audiences seem to like Limitless somewhat better. It has higher ratings fairly significantly across the few things that IMDb, Letterboxd, Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, I think as well. So we're doing this because at some point in the past few months, Jelani suggested Limitless, and I was like, okay, if we're going to do Limitless, I think it'd be more interesting if we compare these two. But this is also just I feel like there was this trend in the 2010s of these high concept sci-fi movies that didn't really live up to their potential. And these are, I think, two of the biggest examples of them. Some others are like Cloud Atlas, Transcendence, Looper, Upgrade, Annihilation, Snowpiercer, Source Code, Selfless. And then there's a few that did, I feel like, live up to their potential. Her, Ex Machina, Arrival, Inception. And I think the biggest, certainly not the best of that group, probably unequivocally the worst, but someday we got to talk about In Time, because I feel like In Time is the biggest antithesis to these two movies and that category, because it's a weird and kind of not excellent premise, but I feel like they just do it so well, and despite its flaws, I really love In Time. So yeah, we're gonna compare these two. This is just little personal anecdote with it. One of the first screenplays I tried writing also had not that similar of a premise, but it was kind of a also sci-fi brain access thing. It's not good. I'm not gonna probably bring it up that much, but just I remember I was working on it when I first saw Limitless in high school. So I think I watched Limitless probably to just compare how it did its thing versus how I did mine. So just I've worked with this concept. It didn't turn out great, so I'm not gonna be well, they should have done this because that's what I did. It absolutely is not gonna be that. But I'll just give that caveat. So had either of you seen these before?
Nah.
Nope.
So first time for both of you for both movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jelani, let's get some initial reactions from you first then.
I'm really glad I watched Limitless first. That's really it. Okay, I watched Limitless first thinking I was out of the two, because I thought, or I had seen from the trailers, I think I had thought Lucy was more action oriented, so I went with what I expected to not be as action oriented, and I was right. But I ended up liking Limitless more than Lucy, because oh boy, that was a movie. That is it. That is one of the movies of all time. I mean, we'll talk about the premise and all that, but I think I found myself verbally saying WTF. See if we can keep this PG.
I said that a lot. I said that a lot during Lucy.
Out loud, aloud during Lucy. And also, there was a lot more. I didn't expect any body horror in it. There was a lot of body horror in this, for whatever reason.
Lucy specifically?
Yeah. Her skin coming off on the plane, and
The whole
seeing
plane
the
sequence
flesh.
was crazy.
Ugh. And then the whole her turning into the damn computer thing at the end, and her fingers extending, and oh god, it was
Yep.
nasty.
Yeah.
It was gross. It was really gross. And Limitless, it had potential, but it seemed limited in the end. Woo! All right, go, David.
I mean, yeah, I think we're all going to be coming at this from pretty much the same spot. I didn't really enjoy either. I enjoyed Limitless more. It's a personal preference for me. And I learned this at Drexel when I took a sci-fi class and we were reading like the older short stories. I like a lot of sci-fi, but the one niche sci-fi story that I really don't get down to, and it came out more in the prominence in the 50s, is this drug giving you powers and then just everything goes off from there. Like I find that really boring because usually it's like, especially in a movie, it's like 20 to 30 minutes of a protagonist reacting and then they take the pill and now they can suddenly make a decision. I'm like, oh god, by that point I'm asleep. Like I actually fell asleep watching Limitless the first time and I had to start it the next day and I was like, oh god.
Oof.
So yeah, both of them not my favorite. I think Limitless has more going for it, and maybe it's because it was from a book, so it was easier for them to adapt it and they didn't have to, think too hard. But oh wow, Lucy, I watched Limitless and I was like, okay, it's okay. Not a big fan of it, but there is stuff here. It's not that great, but there is at least enough there to talk about it. Lucy is just a crazy film. When they said on Wikipedia that it got tore apart for being nonsensical, I was like, what does that really mean? And then I watched it and I was like, oh, I 100% understand. Because you just sat there thinking, WTF? Like, what am I watching? It's crazy. They give no reason.
I feel like it's trying to be deep, but it gives no answers whatsoever. Like
Well,
it doesn't
it's
take a
also-
stance. It's just like what?
It's also trying, like, it's weird to me how much of Lucy, and it's not long either. It's only, I think it clocks in well under 90 minutes. Like, I think it's between 80 and 90. And a lot of the runtime is spent with Morgan Freeman doing his, like, dissertation.
Yeah, his
Or
lecture.
His lecture. And he's going into, like, all sorts of science with it. And then clearly the rest of the movie does not give a damn about science at all. Like, there's just no thought to it. Also, probably not a... This was a note I made watching Lucy. Probably not a good idea to use the phrase science fiction in your science fiction movie. I forget exactly the context, but Morgan Freeman says something like, well, if we get to that point, that's just science fiction. I'm like, okay, don't do that.
That's the thing with Lucy that I couldn't fully wrap my head around, because like, okay, so her name's Lucy and then we start with the ape and then I was like, okay, so we're just gonna immediately, I was like, oh, okay, like Lucy, like Homo erectus, and I didn't think they were even gonna bring it up. Then like the next scene, it's the guy in the museum and he's like, I learned that the first woman was a monkey named Lucy in a museum, and I'm like, okay, so this is really on the nose. And then we get those lectures and he's talking about the brain and everything, and then while she's getting kicked and it's supposed to be activating, and we're supposed to be like believing the science to what is clearly fiction, and then they have the science fiction line there when the guy asks him what happens if he hits 100% capacity, and I'm just like, what is this movie? And then it just goes off the rails and they like completely abandon the whole evolution storyline that they barely even try to bake in the beginning. It's crazy.
Yeah, it gets... We'll get into that. I have a comparison I want to do when we get to the premise topic. Are we good on your guys' initial reactions, or?
Yep.
I didn't write a whole list this time because, well, it's 2 movies.
Okay. Yeah, just real quick before we get into the topics, for anyone who's interested, Limitless apparently also, like David I think mentioned, it's based on a book. I believe there's also a sequel book. There's also a TV show that only ran for 1 season that I think is kind of supposed to be a sequel to the movie. I think Bradley Cooper shows up. I haven't looked at any of that. There's a Just Right video that looks at the whole, actually 2 videos that look at the whole franchise and kind of its ethos, I guess. I find them kind of interesting, even though I am not really inclined to look at the rest of that
What's the
franchise.
second book title?
I don't
Limitless?
know.
Let me pull it up. I just looked that up.
Well,
as I was
the
seeing
book
it.
is not called Limitless. It has a different name.
Yeah, the book is called The Dark Fields.
What?
Yeah, and the sequel is called Under the Night. But in 2011, it got re-released with the name Limitless for the film. And there's a significant difference at the end, which I'm going to bring up later because I think it does change the whole point of the story.
Yeah,
The drugs are bad.
Essentially, but the whole drug thing is so much stronger in like the book. Like they call it MDT instead of DMT, and in the movie it's like all these different letters. Like in the book, it's really like drugs, 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 and there's whole like America v Mexico thing going on. That's not even in the movie.
That
I'm
is,
not sure
yeah.
I saw a Mexican in the movie, so yeah.
Yeah, I've heard there's some pretty significant changes from book to movie. And then I think the sequel book does like a Godfather Part 2 thing where it's like a prequel and sequel at the same time or something like that. But I might be getting that confused. So for the topics, I have 3 points where I want to compare these, and we'll probably go into other aspects of it as we go through. But I want to compare the protagonists, what they do with the premise, the endings for both of them. So starting with the protagonists, what do either of you think makes these protagonists good for the premise? And we'll get into what makes them bad, but we'll start with what do we think is good about like how they're constructed for this premise.
For Lucy, nothing, because Lucy's just not. She's just not a person. Like I was blown away with the fact that she doesn't just say like, "Hello, people. This guy just handcuffed my wrist to a briefcase. Help me!" Because they're right outside of a bank and they're yelling and no one's paying attention to it. With Bradley Cooper's Eddie, as much as like it doesn't work for me and my personal taste, it is, I would say, like that kind of screenwriting 101. Show your protagonist having a hard time, give them some obstacle, and you can see he's a struggling writer. He's losing his girlfriend, he's not making his deadline, so this kind of allows you to see that change when the pill is taken, and I think it becomes a bit more believable and you're able to root for him more. He's more of the everyday man. Lucy is just not a person.
Yeah, she's just scared in the beginning. That's her one and only personality. I don't even know who was it. Richard? Was that Euron?
Yeah, you're on Greyjoy in a cowboy
Oh my
hat.
god, that is.
Yeah. I don't know what their relationship was. She said they dated for a week. I didn't get why was she there? I don't know if they answered that. They were just going back and forth and then she got handcuffed. I agree with what David was saying. I feel like any normal person would just scream or, ask for help. And then she got drugged. She got kicked in the stomach and the drug worked. It was a lot.
Which that makes me even more mad. Like Eddie being pretty passive, but at least he makes that choice to take the drug and pursue the drug. Her just getting drugged and then kicked, and I'm like, she couldn't even activate it herself. She couldn't even be like, oh my god, let me be in prison and try to do this. Like she just does nothing, and then she becomes less of a human because that's how their drug works in the movie.
The decision, like there was no decision she made going into Act 2, was there?
No.
Like there was no conscious, like I think in Act 2, she made the decision to go after all the pills or whatever, but to get the drug, like I don't even really know if you could count her decision to even go inside with the handcuff suit, like
No, it's completely involuntary.
yeah, with the handcuffed briefcase. It just kind of happened like a spider bite, but not exactly that. And then I agreed with what Dave was saying about Eddie. He's we see his issues. He's just some guy, and then he makes a decision to. The chances of him running into that dude in New York were kind of crazy, and there was really no reason. That was explained later. Like he was just giving him a free drug because ex-brother-in-law cost $800. Okay, man. I thought they were setting him up, maybe, but that was never explained or explored. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys, and I'm not surprised at this because I also don't have much good to say for either of them. You guys kind of got into some of your negatives, and we can keep going with those.
Oh, I completely forgot we were supposed to talk about the positives.
It's all right. I mean, you guys basically covered my two positives. Like, the only good thing I can say for Lucy is like she's relatively normal, and that's true for both of them. Like, I think for this premise, it is good to have kind of an everyman sort of protagonist because you kind of want you want to see like what does a regular person do with this. And I think in that sense it's good that Eddie is underachieving so then we can see him like doing everything he wants to do and more, and that he's ambitious. I don't like what his ambitions are. I think they're kind of boring.
He's a
It's
writer, Evan. How is that boring? He's like you. He's like you for real, for real.
That's a trope I also always roll my eyes at. Whenever writers make their protagonist writers, I'm like, come on.
But tick tick boom.
Mm-hmm.
Which we all loved to the heavens. So yeah. Well, we don't even know what Eddie's writing either, though. Like, his book is just like, we can't tell. Is it fiction? Is it a self-help book? Is it research? Like, it's just book. I have book deal. So yeah, I don't. And I agree with what you guys were saying for Lucy, and this will get us into the negatives, which you guys were already listing. Like, we know basically nothing about her, and then anything we do know doesn't matter at all, because by 30 minutes in, she's just this robot. She has zero personality and no goals, no agency. And like halfway through the movie, she kind of gets the goal to just like, well, now for science, I have to reach 100%, so we know what happens. But that doesn't happen for a while, and also like by the time that goal is established, it's already gone so far off the rails that I don't care anymore. I'll go through my negatives, and then if you guys had more negatives than what you already said, you can add them on. For Eddie, my main problem with him is like, it's just such a boring thing to do with something so cool.
For a movie, yeah.
For a movie, yeah. Like, it's understandable. I feel like it's almost too realistic. It's like, I can do whatever I want. Well, I'm gonna game the stock market. I'm gonna win Wall Street, and then run for office, which are like, you don't need to be that smart to do. Like, there's people who just kind of know how to game the system who do that. It's not like I feel like he could have, maybe not as effectively, and everyone's marveling at like, oh my god, he did this much in 3 days or whatever. Which, yeah, okay, that's like, there's kind of a power fantasy aspect to that, but like, even after, like, he says he has this plan where he's like, I got this idea, but I need money. And then we never find out what the idea was. We just see him win the stock market, and then at the end,
thought that
he's
was the
running
plan
for Congress. Well, I don't think so. At first, like, when I was remembering back, because it's been like 7 or 8 years or something since I saw this movie, and I remembered it being like, oh yeah, his plan is to win the stock market, but I don't think it is, because he says like, I got an idea, but I would need money. So the stock market is where he gets the money, but then what is his plan?
No, I thought he got money from the Russian dude.
Yeah, but then he only uses it to, like, the stock market seems like a means to an end for him, but we don't know what the end is ever.
President.
Okay, and then what?
President.
Even if we like, maybe if we knew if he had some kind of clear end game there, then that would be more interesting. I still think there was something much better they could have done instead of him just becoming like the ultimate finance bro.
But he's so cool. It's a finance bro's dream, man.
But I don't want to see that in a sci-fi movie.
I know, it's so weird.
Like, they turned the sci-fi movie into Wolf of Wall Street, but PG-13.
But Robert De Niro's in it.
And I like him in it, but that doesn't do that much for me.
He's like, do you want to go to war with me and everything, Evan? That didn't excite you?
No, well, okay, I want to get into that at some point, because I feel like that could have been a cool conflict, but they just don't do enough with it.
Nope. He just said, get out of my movie. It's the end. It's the end of the movie. And shut the car door. Like,
so disappointing. Did you guys have more negatives for the protagonist?
I guess this could fit into the negative just because we were talking about it. Jelani brought it up and with the president thing now, just how the original went. That twist is there that you were talking about, expecting him to be a guinea pig. That's like the big twist, was that he was a guinea pig for the drug trial, and then like he like tries to get to New York and he's like slowly dying because he can't get any more because like they caught him. They set him up at like one of the stashes where they were making it. And then like he sees like the president on the TV with like glowing blue eyes, so he knows he's under the influence of the drug. And then like the president sends troops
so it's
into
like
Mexico.
the spice in Dune in the book? Yeah. They do like the...
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Wow. That
And
I
yep.
didn't know about that.
And then he like dies watching American troops invade Mexico and like the war starts.
So wait, have you read the book or did you just look up a summary?
I just read a synopsis.
What? What?
Yeah, so it's a whole different kind of vibe.
I don't know if that's a better vibe.
I don't know either. I'm not taking sides.
Yeah, I feel like I'd have to read the whole book to know for sure.
But it's a different choice.
And
At
again,
least he
this is just-
dies.
I didn't enjoy the fact that he's like he tweaked the drug and now he just has like because his mind was that smart that he could. Because then why didn't they anyone who was using that drug before just do that?
Right.
that was
Like
my
I
thought,
fully
too.
expected him to be dead, but I expected both of them to be dead by the end of the movies. And then he's just like, I felt so odd because I was like, is this a happy ending in a movie about drugs? Okay. I thought the message was going to be drugs. That would have been a better message than whatever. What do you think the message of this is? Be smarter, be big brained.
I don't know because there is that it's hard to divorce like if you're a kid watching this I doubt you're gonna pick up on it but if you're a teenager or older it's hard to not see everything they're trying to say about drug usage in this and everything so it's like by that ending for him to be like you know I'm not using the worst form of this drug I've tweaked it but I'm still on it and I'm thriving like what does that say? I don't know and I don't think I agree with it.
They do, I noticed with Limitless, they pretty early show like he's addicted so fast. Like as soon as he comes down off of the first hit of NZT, he's like, I need more. And like it's not shy about making him look like an addict. But it like goes so hard with like this is a drug. There are bad side effects to this. So by the end I'm like, does it think NZT is good or bad? Because he's like, I'm gonna get off it and I'm gonna go slow. And it's like, all right, so and also it's just such a boring way to take it. It's like this is a cool premise, and then the second half of the movie is like, how do I do NZT rehab correctly? That's not where I want this to go.
It also starts in medias res. That's what it's called, right?
Oh the way it looks.
No,
How
at
so?
the beginning, like the ending. Is that what it's called?
Oh the ending's the
yeah,
beginning.
the flash forward.
And medias res.
I don't
those
know
are
if
always
that's
fun.
exactly in media res, but it's yeah. I think that's more like I think that's a
beginning
slightly
of
different
the
thing, maybe.
Climax or anyway, it starts at the end, towards the end of the movie, at the beginning.
Yep.
You guys didn't think it was a better movie for that?
No, I almost never like that choice.
Especially not when there's like a voiceover that's like, and here we go back, or if there's like a title card that's like 12 whatever earlier.
I was expecting, hey, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up on top of the skyscraper.
I feel like that's pretty much what we got.
Yeah, we kind of did. I could have had an impact on the world. Instead, all I was going to have was an impact on the sidewalk.
God. I also didn't like the editing for Limitless. Like it was, I didn't like a lot of the close. Why were there so many close shots in it? That made me really uncomfortable. Maybe that was the point. I don't know how to feel about the filter they put on it when
I
he
hated
was
it.
on NZT, and then when he was off, I was like, okay, I get it. Drug, he's in withdrawal. Withdrawal. He's probably slowly dying right now without being on it. Just he needs another pill. So he looks awful. The movie looks awful. I get it. And then they went right back to like that bright orange filter, and I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Chief. It could have been like where would you think this could go better? Like what would you change to make it better in your opinion?
I thought
Like, his
about this.
decisions?
Yes. This is my issue with this kind of story in science fiction because you said the spider bite, and I thought, why does the spider bite not bother me? And especially, why does it not bother me in Spider-Verse? And it's because he doesn't get bit and then turn into Act 3 Miles. He has to continue to earn it. He has to grow. He has to fall. He has to fail. And the minute this dude takes NZT, whatever, he's just Superman. And he just needs to keep taking it. And if he takes it, he'll get out of any situation. And if he can't get to it, that's where the conflict is. And I think that's so dumb. You're relying on an object to be the conflict of your story. That's because your character doesn't have any.
Yeah, so this
But
is
his
kind. Oh,
girlfriend,
go ahead.
David, he had problems with his girlfriend. That wasn't enough. Or his book that he wrote within by the end of like Act One or like halfway through Act
And then
Two.
she annoyed me too because I was ready for her to give her a hard time, and then drugged out boyfriend comes in crashing, and she's like, okay, I'll go. This doesn't seem sus. I'll help you. I'll get you the drug because you're thriving when you're on them. Because that's not trying to help the issue at all. And then she starts taking it to save herself. I was like, this is crazy. They just threw her whole character out the window when they needed it.
Like he also asked the question straight up, why did you put up with me? She was just like, because I was in love with you. No, I think you still are, because she was still doing dumb stuff with him. So yeah, I didn't care for her either. She made some really stupid decisions.
And I couldn't tell at the end with how her eyes looked. Was she also supposed to be on it too? Like her own
I thought
specialized
that
dose?
was her noticing that he was on it still.
Well, he definitely was on it. Because he had those crystal blue. But when she took it, she kind of got like that amber yellow, and she had that at the end too. And I was like, is this just like residual effects? Did he also perfect her batch so she can take it too? And they're just this drugged out couple and they're thriving.
Yeah, I've never quite understood how to read that last moment with them at the end, where he's like, "What? What are you looking at? What is, what is that doing? I don't get it.
Because
Do
it winked to the camera, Evan. Don't you get it?
what is it winking at though? It's like, check it, guys, I won. Oh, credits. Like that's all it looks like. Cue the Black Keys. That's that song they play. It's kind of a banger of a song, but like, that shouldn't be the best part of your ending. Do
It
we
was a
want
happy
to?
ending.
So let's get into both the endings, and we'll go to the premise later because we're already talking about it. So like, going off of something you guys were talking about, Limitless's ending, and something that I had a problem with this time around is like, I think David, you said all of his problems come up because like when he's not on NZT, he's doing that. That's the problem. It's always he needs to find the next pill. Is like always the conflict in the second half of the movie. I was thinking the much more interesting thing to me would have been if he makes decisions while on NZT and like full big brain conscious. He's not tripping out or anything. And he makes decisions that then later come back to bite him at the end. Like everything that goes wrong for him in Act 3 is kind of random. It's like the girl that he maybe kills, we never really are sure whether he killed her
Oh,
or
that's
not.
never solved either.
Yep.
So that's the problem, and then there's and that brings that like one detective after him because he was also the suspect when Vernon got his apartment sacked, and then there's the problem. I completely forgot about this whole thing. There's that other stockbroker that Eddie and then De Niro, they're like gonna merge with his company or whatever, and then he dies from NZT. I forgot about all of that. And then the bigger, I guess the biggest conflict is with Russian Jason Statham, like getting his mob dudes to come attack Eddie in his like indestructible apartment, but apparently not that indestructible. Like
And
it's
apparently he
all,
wasn't that smart because he didn't see dude holding something behind his.
yeah, it's so. I saw a review. He was complaining that Limitless has like 4 climaxes, which I kind of see. Like I read that before rewatching it. I was like, okay, I'll look for that. I kind of see that. I also feel like you could just as easily say it doesn't have any climax because it end
Right.
like the big end scene, the big what I think you would consider the climax, if you had to like name one, is when he kills the Russian dudes that come to his apartment and he drinks the dude's blood to get the NZT. And then it jumps to like the least interesting moment chronologically that it could. It's like he's successful and he just won the game of surviving NZT. We still don't know what his like long-term plan is, except he's running for Senate and apparently he's doing pretty good with it and has bipartisan support or whatever. And then he like, has his speech where he like gives the finger to De Niro and is like, I beat you, haha. And everything's fine. There just feel like there could have been so many more interesting places within that timeline to have a climax. And it just skips over so much.
Well, his life was skipping, Evan. Didn't you? That's like, you gotta
Oh my god.
think about these things, Evan. His life was skipping because he was
I wish
he
he
was
was
the drug.
skipping.
Yeah.
Physically skipping through New York. No, but I agree. I think that's like part of my issue with like this adaptation is sometimes it's good to be super loyal, but sometimes it's okay to change things. And the book, it seems, from what I've read in the synopsis, it doesn't give an explanation to the murders either. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so when he's in this fugue state, is he just murdering people and he doesn't know? Is it somebody else? Is it the guy following him murdering people and he's going to get blackmailed? What's going to happen? And I think they lean too far into the fact they're like, all right, the title's Limitless, so we just got to show that he can go as far and as far as possible, and how far can you go in America, president? And they just rush that all in.
Is the limit, or the limitlessness, I don't
Right?
know what to call it.
Because of the book. And it's like, I just remove all that stuff. Just don't even try to do that stuff from the book. Just stick to there. Because if they made it a tighter story about this guy who's not able to discern reality from his like tripping out, and he's having to face the repercussions of it, that would have been so much more interesting. And I think you could have had a cleaner, just climax, third act, everything. Because they're just trying to do too much, and in trying to do too much, they don't do enough of anything to make me feel satisfied. Because it's like you have that, then you have the boss fight, then you have the girl, and it's like, okay, you just chopped and kind of put this all on at the end because you felt like that's what you had to tie up, but it wasn't set up well enough for me to even care to begin with.
Definitely not.
So, what decisions would you have him make that would make this movie interesting? Isn't that one of your topics, though, Evan? I don't know if you want to jump to that right away.
Well,
you can skip it.
No, it wasn't really. So I'm okay to go into that. Well, can I turn the question around on you, or are there decisions you would have it make? Because I don't have anything specific.
Oh, no.
I have like broad things.
No.
If I was doing it, I would do exactly what Evan said. I would have had it framed more in he is having to face his consequences when he's out and he's kind of sobering up from the drug.
I like
wouldn't have
that
had
idea.
it been, oh, I always need to get the
I
drug.
thought they were going to take it that way.
Me too.
Or, like, he was never really, like, threatened with, like, running out. Like, I wasn't ever really worried that he'd run out. He ran out the one time and, like, bounced back in, 20 minutes?
Even the police guy, like, whenever would a policeman get an eyewitness to say and identify this guy is the guy who was at the scene of a crime, of a murder, and then wait for him to finish his business meeting and walk over to him at the bar and then use the newspaper to break the news? Like, no, you would roll up, cuff him, and bring him and talk to him. You have an eyewitness claim.
But it's Bradley Cooper, David. I think that's what...
I think I was talking to my one friend about this too, and I was like, just within casting, it's so hard, even the beginning, for me to believe Bradley Cooper's a loser. Like, they gave him dirty hair and everything, and I'm like, this dude is still Bradley Cooper. Like, you're okay, yeah, sure, he's the bum in this situation where...
Well, I feel like he's actually, like, I'm not a huge fan of Bradley Cooper. Oddly, both of these movies have actors that I feel like are way overrated, both in terms of, like, acting ability, and people think they're way more attractive than I do. So I don't know if that matters with this comparison, but like, I think Bradley Cooper is kind of well cast here, because he can be like, he's charming, but he's also like a little bit sleazy at the same time, and I feel like that is kind of good for this character, because I never feel like you're supposed to really, like, not that you're not supposed to be rooting for him, because you are, but I never get the sense that it's saying, like, this is a good guy. He's kind of unabashedly selfish for most of the movie. And I feel like Bradley Cooper is kind of good for that role. And like you're saying, like, I agree with you, David. It's like, yeah, you just make him look like he hasn't showered in 4 days for the entire first part of the movie. But it is still Bradley Cooper. And again, I don't see it, but apparently a lot of people think he's just this incredibly attractive guy.
He does play sleazy well, though. He plays that douchebag person really well.
But he's not like, he doesn't go too hard into it, is the
He's
thing.
pretty sleazy. He's sleazy enough that like all the white bros in 2008 would have been like, yeah, man, like that's the guy I want to be, man.
Exactly.
Like that's dope,
He's a
man.
finance bro's dream.
But like,
like,
everyone
oh,
else
yeah.
would be like, oh god, don't do it.
Like
No.
if this came out a year ago, he would be running the NFT game. And he'd be all into crypto. Or if it came out like 2015, he'd be like, I'm gonna buy out Dogecoin or whatever it is.
Rocket Raccoon is sleazy.
Very sleazy.
Yep. Was he sleazy? Was he a sleazy sniper in American Sniper?
I don't know, I haven't seen that.
Me neither. I just heard the one clip, "I'm coming home, baby," or whatever in his accent. And I was like, I'm not gonna watch this.
The only other thing I can think of that I've seen him in is A Star Is Born. And he's pretty different from
Oh,
this
with Lady
in
Gaga?
that- Yeah.
I completely forgot he was in that.
He's just kind of mumbling the whole movie where he's and he looks so greasy all the time. He wants everything to be your frickin' nose, Lady Gaga.
Is he American or British?
No,
He's American. He's from Philly.
Did that sound British?
No, he looks like the type that would be British. Like you would think he's American this whole time because he has all these straight white dude American roles.
And then he wins the award, and you hear him speak for real, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, like I've had a couple of surprises.
Let's get into the ending of Lucy. What did you
I don't
guys?
want. No.
What did you guys think of
I
that?
don't
Well,
want-
if you don't want to, let's start with David then.
Few times am I able to watch a movie and just not comprehend what is happening in front of me. And it happened at the end of Sausage Party, and it happened
God.
at the end of this film. I just was like, what am I watching? Really, what am I watching? And if anything, it made me oddly appreciate the ending to Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I was like, that ending was crazy. Like, if you just put it on paper, that's a crazy ending. But I understood it all the weight, all the character, all the plot. And I was like, that's why that movie's so good. This movie, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. And then when they got into all the computer generated CGI terribleness from 2011 or 2014, I forget which one was which. Wow, it just looked bad.
But don't you know what to do with your life now?
Oh yeah, and then where was she? I'm everywhere. And then she was like, blah 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 blah. But now you know what to do. What am I supposed to do? Just kill people?
Yeah, I know. She starts killing people so fast. Like, as soon as the drug hits, she's just boom, 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 shoots like 4 dudes.
I was shocked at the surgery scene. I was like, okay, wow. She was like, he wasn't gonna make it anyway. Okay, morally gray, I guess, not just straight.
Except you're God, and you say he can't make it, and yet you're like, I don't know, is she doing telekinetic stuff at that point?
No, this was like this was right before the milk in my mouth scene.
Oh my god. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to call and traumatize my mom? Like, I don't understand what she meant by that.
Her mom was so lost, bro.
Well, and she could have given that speech to anyone, but she calls her mom, and then in a robot voice, and her, like...
That's why I don't understand why they have to make her do the worst things to prove her abilities. Like when the guy's like, do you have anything to prove? And then she like touches his shoulder and just traumatizes him about the day his daughter died. Like he couldn't say like what he had for lunch yesterday or any other thing that someone wouldn't know. You had to go that dark. I was like, come on, Lucy. Like, this is crazy.
The whole car chase scene where she's just letting people die left and right because she needs to get to the place. Remember all the I think she stole dude's cop car and he was just like, okay, I guess I'm just the passenger now. And all the cars and people that died and flipped because she needed to get there. I forget where she needed to be. That was the right before she like suspended everybody in animation in the air.
And before that, when she broke out, she was like, there was 2 cab drivers. She was like, can you take me to the hospital? No, shot him. Points at the other one, take me to the hospital. And then he just gets in the car. And I'm like, she's crazy. Like, this is just craziness.
Right. Which
Apparently
is, again,
that's
why,
what
like,
do with 28%.
I don't know. This isn't about the ending, but, like, we talked about how she has, like, no agency at the beginning. I don't even get why you need the first 20 minutes of the movie if she becomes this... Like, I think it'd be better, maybe, to just start us cold with just, like, her getting kicked in the stomach. Like, we can just montage that first 20 minutes and be like, boom, she got, like, captured. We don't know why. Now she's this drug mule. Boom, kick. and now the drug starts taking effect. Like, you get rid of 20 useless minutes. Not that it does that much with the rest of the movie, but like it takes half an hour of an 80-minute movie for her to start feeling effects, I think, of the drug.
They were they Chinese?
I think it was Taiwanese. I think, well, I don't know. Taiwan is, I think, the country they're in at the beginning.
Okay. In any case, where were they focused on so much? Like, I understand that's where the drugs came from. The whole hallway shootout scene, why that happened, and it seemed like dude was gonna sacrifice himself is what I got from it. And he ran and grabbed a rocket launcher, and they were going back and forth. And then he entered the room like, "Where is she?" And then the French cop dude just ended up killing him. It was just like, I'm checked out. I've been checked out for like a little while, guys. Can we wrap this up?
No, that's how I was at the ending too. Like by the time, like, also I get disengaged as soon as she just turns into God, like, which happens basically like 45 minutes in. But then even by the end, like you're saying, why do we need to see that whole? That apparently there's like is it a gang war between these? Like, it seems like it's like the like two drug lords, I guess, at the
I
end.
thought it was the cops.
Oh right, okay. Is it the cops? Like, see, it doesn't. It matters
It
so
doesn't
little
matter.
that like you have zero investment in either side.
Also, so many deaths she could have prevented there by
I
just
know.
not being an asshole.
And then she like it's inconsistent because like she talks about how the more she's learning, the less human she's becoming, and then it's like, okay, that's how we're gonna excuse her not saving people. But then at the end, Morgan Freeman's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "You're worthy, like for me to sacrifice myself for." And he's like, "I hope we are." And I'm like, "So you do care? You just care about certain people."
I don't know. It seems like they cared so little about giving her any kind of like relatable motivation that I don't really take any of that conversation seriously. That just feels like it was tacked on.
Oh yeah, I don't think whoever wrote this thought that much about it.
Like, I'm okay if we want to look at that and like try to break it down. I just honestly don't believe there's anything underneath it.
I don't think there's anything underneath anything in this film.
They put all of human knowledge on a flash drive, bro. Like that was all the bad CGI Venom goo.
Mm-hmm.
The flash drive looked weird. It was a long old big boy flash drive, and that's 100% knowledge on it. 100% of the human, everything you need to know is. Can you imagine? Like, it didn't even have enough space.
Yeah. How many terabytes?
How many
of data
terabytes is
are
all
there?
this knowledge? Oh man.
So at the end of the movie, we realize that when you take the whole human brain, it just becomes like a 2,000 terabyte flash drive.
What are they gonna plug that into? Like, what computer can handle that much information?
Yeah, well, I think she was supposed to be building them a computer that could hold it, but
No, she
Oh,
sucked
was
all
she
the
really?
computers into herself and then made the flash drive and then blinked. And she went through time. She was scrolling through it like she was scrolling through iPad photos.
I get to the end of both movies, and I'm just like, so what? It just feels like, why did I just watch that? I feel like it's more pronounced with Lucy. It's like we just saw like dozens of people get killed, and like this whole globe-trotting adventure, and then it's just she turns herself into a flash drive.
She's
That's
everywhere,
it.
Evan.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as much as I can critique Limitless for the things I disagree with it, like we said, there's enough under the surface there that I can see the story that they're trying to say. Lucy, like, if you, like we've said, you can just cut to her getting the shit kicked out of her and then activate her super abilities. But if you do that, you're left with a 50-minute action sequence set piece from set to set because there is no actual story. And that's why they have to tack on this terrible beginning and ending to even make it an hour and 22-minute film.
How do you think he got to the Iron Fleet from there? Like, after he got shot?
Who? Wait, you're on Greyjoy?
Do you think he walked?
I think the one sister came because she was the stronger one, and she probably came and sewed him up and brought him back.
Gotcha. And then she shot down Daenerys's. Then he shot down Daenerys's dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really. really distracting in the beginning for me. And he just slams against the glass outside with the red paint and the red dye, whatever, and that was the end of Euron forever.
Yeah.
That was Richard. R.I.P. Richard.
He so doesn't need to be in the movie.
At all. None of that sequence needs to be there. And I didn't even pick up they've only been dating like a week or 10 days, wherever, which one of you said it, but like that, even because I was even questioning like, why is she doing this? Like, she must really know him, but they even have that to make it even more like, why? Like, why is she not just be like, yo, this dude I just met handcuffed me to this briefcase and he's telling me sus stuff, get this off of me.
There's just so many baffling choices like that.
What was the point in the roommate scene? Why was she there? We
don't
didn't
know.
even see the roommate before that point.
And why do we need to know that she has kidney failure?
Well, because she cares about her.
Right? But she's not supposed to be caring.
There's just so, like, I don't understand what, because Luc Besson wrote and directed Lucy.
And he's done some good stuff.
He's done some good stuff.
Which he says that the villain in this film is the best villain he's scripted since Gary Oldman.
Who
The villain?
Mr. Zhang.
What?
Was that the? Was
He
that
said,
the,
and I
the
quote,
head of the drug?
Whereas Lucy is the ultimate intelligence, Mr. Zhang is the ultimate devil. I don't really
Why
think
didn't
he
she
is.
just kill him when she stabbed his hands? Thanks for the info, and then blasted him like she blasted the goons.
I need
That was
another 10
never
minutes.
explained.
Well, from a creative standpoint, I don't understand what drew Luc Besson to this movie, because like sometimes I'll see something bad and I'm like, okay, like I watch a Zack Snyder movie. And I'm like, okay, you didn't care about the story, but I know you just wanted to make like cool action scenes, and you at least did that. I get that there was like something that drew you to this. I don't see what that is for Luc Besson in this movie, because he doesn't seem to care that much about the premise, and he didn't put any thought into this character, and certainly not into the minor characters either. Like, did he just want to make a shoot 'em up action movie with a bunch of documentary, like nature documentary shots spliced in to be pretentious?
That was really like the cheetah, antelope, or gazelle, whatever it was. I don't watch nature stuff. At the beginning, and they nabbed her. That was like the cheetah getting its jumping, getting the goat.
Yeah.
And then they talked about dolphins. Bro, why did they keep freaking I'm trying so hard not to curse. Why did they keep talking about animals? And
I don't get. So okay, let's move into premise, because I feel like I've been waiting to say this, like basically the whole podcast. I feel like Lucy takes this premise and then escalates it like a couple of 10-year-old boys at a lunch table who got this idea. They're like, and then she can like speak every language, and then she can like make her hair turn different colors, and then she can read other people's minds, and then she can throw everyone across the room, and then she time travels, and then she's gone, and then I don't know if they would think they turned into a flash drive. Like, that's
for
what
those
it
who
feels
haven't
like
seen it, you just watch Lucy.
What is it?
I said for those who haven't seen it, you just watched it because Evan said it. Like,
Well, but that's the whole movie. Like, and that would be fun if you're in 5th grade talking about, like, you just came from like science class and we're like, we can only use 10% of our brain. Whoa, what would 100 be?
We literally
Time
had that
travel.
conversation in like middle school when like that we talked about that as like a myth, and we were like, wow, imagine what you could do. And then we quickly were like, well, it's not real. So the fact that they made a whole movie about it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene was Morgan Freeman meeting Lucy for the first time. He was talking to her over the phone. His reaction to, or his lack of reaction to like her doing all of the stuff he was theorizing was just, I loved it. I don't know why, but it was just hilarious to me because he was just like staring blankly for, I think he was just trying to figure out what the hell to say. Like, what do you say in that situation when she's on 3 different devices in your room at the same time? It was fun.
It goes so far off the rails. Like,
It was gone. Again, I'm really glad I watched Limitless first because
Yeah, like as soon as I feel like there's so talking about what I think is good and bad about where they take these premises. I'd like to move into that topic now if we can. I want there to be a happy medium between these two. Is like when I'm watching both of them, I want more of the other one. Whichever one I'm not watching, I want more from it. Like Lucy is at least ambitious and goes for like let's do some crazy things with this. But the moment that it expands her powers beyond her own body, I'm checked out because that's just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, once he got to 60% saying, then we'll be able to control the molecules inside other people. I was like,
yeah,
I was like, no, I don't think the human brain has anything to do with that. I don't. That's a bit like our own. Okay, the hair, cool, but then she was creating telekinetic walls and blowing up, and all right, that's I checked out.
yeah. But some of it I actually kind of like because I remember after watching Limitless the first time, and I saw Limitless many years before. I just actually only watched Lucy for the first time earlier this year. But I remember when I first watched Limitless, I was like, well, I would imagine from what little knowledge I have of like actual brain science, like a lot of our brain, I think, is dedicated to doing stuff that we don't have to worry about. Like it tells our heart to pump and is like the center of the nervous system. So it's like the center for like registering pain and all that. Like it basically makes our body do things and we don't have to worry about them. So it did make sense to me, like thinking about Limitless. I was like, he probably would have been able to control that. If we're truly saying 100% brain capacity, he could probably turn off pain receptors, which I think would have been a cool thing that neither
Oh,
do.
that would have been dope. No, she did it, but they didn't say it like they said everything else in the movie.
Yeah, so there's
Like
an
the
extent.
surgery scene, she was chilling,
Yeah, that's true.
talked about milk in her mouth. I can't get over that whole because she was acting, but she was saying not swearing, saying the dumbest things during that. I remember, I can feel everything. I remember everything, and her mom's just like, okay, sweetie, I don't know what you're talking about.
But I do like that, like, even, I feel like the absolute limit you could take it to, that, like, Lucy goes to, is when she's, like, making the claws for her hands and changing her hair. Like, that's about the absolute max I feel like you could take this premise to and still say it's, like, somewhat grounded in anything. Just grounded at all. But it does that, like, I don't think I think the claw thing comes at, like, 70%. And by that point,
like,
she's already God.
Your cell manipulation over your own cells, because your brain automatically does that. But if you're able to access that, I can buy something like that in a sci-fi movie. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying,
as soon as she's able to read other dudes' mind and like telekinesis and manipulate radio waves,
that was at like 30%. I was like, this is where we're starting?
Wait, no, I made a note of when that happens because I was keeping track of that this time. 28%. So, no. 40 minutes in, I don't know what percentage it's at. 40 minutes in, she's reading the dude's mind. 45 minutes in, she's already basically at God level. And at that point, it says it's at 28% brain capacity. So you're God at 28%, and then you got to scale up from there. Like, at least show some kind of restraint, Luc Besson. Like, if God level is your end, save it for the actual end.
God level is from 30 up. It's all the same. But she needed more of the drug for some reason, even though she was already...
That scene was weird when she was eating it in the
airplane. In the bathroom, she was chomping down on the
and
drugs.
Gets Thanos dusted. She gets snapped.
Where did she? They didn't even continue. Where did she go? They didn't continue the scene. They just cut to the French dude, I think. Bruh.
It's so dumb. Like, I feel like at a certain point, I was like, is this just trying to be campy? Because I feel like one of the worst things about both of these movies, but it's way worse in Lucy, is this is a movie about being smarter And the movie is so stupid.
You know what it felt like? It felt like an early 2000s superhero movie. One that tried to copy Spider-Man, a Daredevil or a Catwoman. That's what it felt like.
Or like, yeah, was that also the era? I haven't seen a lot of the ones you're like those like bad ones of that era that you're talking about. But wasn't that also a time? Maybe we're not out of this, but I feel like there were so many superhero movies I've seen where it's like we're gonna try to like explain the science behind this so that it feels grounded. They're like trying to do the Jurassic Park thing, and I always am like, why are you bothering? We're not here expecting this to be grounded because Lucy does
no,
that.
Catwoman was not grounded. Catwoman, she
That
died,
shit was crazy.
and then a cat.
She just look at herself.
Yeah, a cat like burped in her face, and brought her back to life. Her name was not Selena Kyle; it was Patience, last name, and there was an evil skin cream company, skin cream company that was gonna make people ugly. That was the main villain, and then they did a sexy, crazy cut with the cop and Halle Berry, and then a bunch of kids were watching on a basketball court, and it's just as crazy as Lucy. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think
Daredevil was pretty bad too.
More panned though.
Daredevil wasn't there an Elektra solo film too for some reason?
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. So what do we like about how either of these? Let's again try to start with the positives, like we did for the protagonist section. What do we like about how these premises approach it, or how these approach the premise?
The only thing I like is the potential of both. That's it. I like the potential. There's so many ways they could have taken it. I liked both of these movies before I watched them.
So you like the premise, you don't like... That's not a compliment to either movie, it sounds like.
That is the best compliment it's going to get.
I'm not really disagreeing. Like, I have a couple of things that I like about it, but it's... Yeah, I'm mostly with you there. David, how about you? Do you have any positives for how they take it?
I mean, not really, just because, like I said, this is such, like, this type of story in sci-fi just particularly puts me to sleep. Like, this is, like, the trope that is played out. I'm like, at least in short stories, I'm like, and on to the next. Because there's just other kind of sci-fi that I enjoy more. So, I mean, if I had to look at the two, I would say, at least with Limitless, I enjoy more than Lucy the fact that I got to see a before and after to the drug, so I could actually see who Eddie was before and after, where Lucy, there's no point to see it before because there's also just no after.
So quickly. As soon as she got kicked, it was over. Like, we lost whoever Lucy was before.
Yeah, whoever she could have been, gone.
Yeah.
What did you like?
I mean, I like that Limitless is a little more grounded. Like, if I'll say that, like, if I were given this premise, and like I said, I've worked with it a little bit. Again, not exactly the same. In mine, it was a device, it was technology instead of a drug that like gave you better brain access. But I would take certainly closer to the Limitless approach, and I feel like that makes it more accessible.
Technology is arguably a drug, Evan.
Fair enough. I wasn't going for that comparison at all. I've also read, these are not movies that actually like fully exist, but for coverage jobs, I actually also read 2 other scripts that also had a premise of like machine that makes you smarter, basically.
Oh, David would have been put right to sleep on the job.
You have no idea.
One of them was actually not half bad. Like, I would say, given that it was like the same premise as mine, like it wasn't perfect. I'd say it did a better job than I did.
I imagine David's parents turned on Lucy or Limitless when he was younger to put him to bed instead of singing him a lullaby.
When Limitless comes out sophomore year of high school, David, you don't have to watch Limitless every night before going to bed. There's a new
Good God.
big brain drug movie that came out.
And there's just so many. Like, there's just so many. And it's just, God, will there ever be enough? Like, we get it.
I imagine David can't find sleep one night, and he's just like, something's off. And then he finds the remote, turns on the TV. Ah, there it is. You just see Lucy or Limitless on the screen, and then he snuggles up on his pillow, gets a good 8 hours in.
Feel refreshed.
The Limitless approach is the more interesting one, where it's like, take a more everyday person who we see their day to day, give them abilities that aren't possible but feel possible. Like, something I noticed with both of them is that the first manifestation of how the drug works, like, it seems to take effect through memory at first and learning. Like, you remember stuff that you've forgotten. Apparently you can just remember everything, facts, and it's like, I think Eddie makes some like analogy
The law
when it's
thing.
first. Yeah, the law thing, but like he makes some kind of metaphor in that scene where he's like, everything was like on this perfect platter laid out before me, where it's
Yeah.
like process. It's not just that he's remembering; he's like, it's like clicking all these
yeah.
other things.
He's talking about how organized it was, like a mess, and now he can just access it really quick and easy.
Mm-hmm. So like that, and I think that was more like how I had it take effect in the thing I wrote too, that it was like you remember stuff, but it's a little more than memory too. It's like you can process information better, you can learn stuff way faster. There are more interesting ways to do it that I didn't do, and I don't think either of these movies do, but I think somebody smarter than me, and certainly smarter than these two writers, could have taken this premise in a much more interesting way, where it's like it starts that way and then you can escalate it to other things. But I do enjoy that part of it. Like, I think that is the fun part of this premise, is like, what if me but smarter? And like, you got to keep it somewhat in the realm of like, how do we think day to day? Like, where do we feel, if you're going to show Limitless, where do we feel limited in our brains, is like something to look at.
I want to talk to somebody who watched Lucy and it opened their eyes.
And now they know what to do with their life.
And now they know what to do. I want to talk to somebody where Lucy has helped them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would be interested to hear that as well. I don't know if they exist.
How much did they make back? Triple Limitless? That box office return says otherwise, Evan.
Yeah, it says, well, popularity doesn't necessarily mean, like, box office doesn't mean people liked it always. But yeah, I mean, it made 10 times its budget. So
And when I looked that up, my jaw was on the floor. I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. I thought this would easily make its money back just on the star power of Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman. But to have 10 times the budget made on this terrible film, God bless.
Yeah, I feel
Shout
like
outs to them, bro. Shout outs to all the film. They did it. They did what they needed to.
Yeah, and from what I remember in the trailers, like, it's showing, because I know I saw trailers for this before seeing it. It was long before, but I feel like they do show some of her like god level abilities. But maybe when I
remember
saw
the hair
trailer,
change in the trailer.
Yeah.
I forgot it was in it, but I remember that was like the highlight or part of one of the highlights. Yep.
And I think it shows her like where she just like knocks out like every dude in the hallway except one. That's a shot cool. I remember in the trailer. But it's already showing like god level abilities in the trailer. So I don't know, man. Why it made
that was kind of cool though when it happened in the movie. It was kind of clean. So that's all I'll give it. That's it.
Yeah, no, there's some cool imagery in Lucy. It's just like, again, it's almost like watching a Zack Snyder movie. It's where it's like, this is cool in isolation. In context, it makes zero freaking sense.
Trailer fodder.
Yeah, I remember the trailer for it being decent. Okay, did you guys have any? You guys both went through your positives for the premise, right?
What positives?
Point taken. So let's move into what you guys didn't like about where it takes the premise. I think we've gotten into some of this, but
why don't you start? You start with that one.
Okay. I've already mentioned a lot of this. Like, basically, I just don't like how far off the rails Lucy goes so fast. That's the main thing. There's really not much more to it than that. One thing I'll say, just I guess to keep it on Lucy a little bit, something I wanted from both movies that we don't have is a comparison to how other characters use the drug. Because there are other people who use it in Limitless, but we don't really get to see how it works for them, like what their ambitions are.
We just see dude come back like 2 or 3 times, and now he's got a suit, and now he's
Right,
got
so
2
he must be
goons,
smart
so he
now.
must be smarter. And now he's attacking Bradley Cooper in his apartment. Oh, he took out the cameras. That's big brain time. And he came prepared with the chainsaw because he knew. He knew.
No, exactly. Like, that's all it does with it. And then other stockbroker dude apparently is on it, but I don't think he even gets a line.
No.
Like,
what was the
and
point in his bodyguards if they were just going to die?
Mm-hmm. Well, we do hear Eddie's ex-wife talk about it, but it's only about the withdrawal. And like when she's talking about using it, she was like, "Yeah, I did. I don't know. I was winning at work or whatever." And that's about the extent to how we hear it go for her.
We didn't see it though.
We don't see it, and I think that's the more interesting part.
Yeah, I was on board when, first of all, he was really stupid in how he got it. Why are you holding on to that thing so hard? Just put it in your freaking... Oh, I am doing so well this time, guys. Put it in your freaking pocket. And the dude got a hold of it anyway. And he was like, what you got? And I was like, okay, so maybe they'll show his progress too and see how the drug affects somebody else. That'd be interesting. Maybe while he's on his descent, while he's off of the drug, nope. Suit, 2 goons, apartment break-in. That's it.
Right, and I think during the apartment break-in, Russian Jason Statham says something like, "You've been taking this."
You can't keep doing that to that man. Go ahead.
I don't remember his character's name, and I don't know the actor, so that's what I call him. Yeah, Russian Jason Statham's like, "You've barely even scratched the surface of what you could do with this thing." I'm like, yes, I believe that, because Bradley Cooper is like, he's got very boring and small ambitions for this thing. We don't get to see what Russian Jason Statham does with it, though. Like, except that he's, like, now winning the mob game because he has a suit, apparently.
Maybe during the skips, that was the Hangover part 3, because he don't remember none of it, and none of it's explained. So you watch the Hangover, all the Hangover movies for that. And that's when he has friends that we don't know about. Y'all, I'm at like 30% this episode, y'all.
You're at a hell of a lot more percent than these fighters were. Yeah, I mean, like, Limitless doesn't do anything, like, egregiously bad. Like, at first glance, it's like, okay, you made a pretty mid version of this. And like I said, the ratings on it are not that bad. From, like, Letterboxd, IMDb, they both put it, like... Well, IMDb is a little more favorable to it. It's got a 7.4 out of 10, which is significantly above average. Like, that's not amazing, but that's a pretty good rating for IMDb. Letterboxd has it 3.3. Average, yeah, 6.6-ish, I would say,
really?
is like average on IMDb. Well, in my experience, like, I think probably they have numbers on that. Like, when I see that on an IMDb rating, I'm like, okay, 6.6, 6.7 is like pretty much the middle. So 7.4 is pretty decent. Lucy's a 6.4, just for reference, which I'm a little surprised at how high that is. I think 7.4 is far too high for Limitless. But, I mean, you can't argue with that. Like, people do seem to enjoy it a decent amount. And I think part of it is that, like, there's an extent to which it works. I think it just makes really boring choices. One area... I've never liked the blackouts with it. I kind of already talked about that.
I thought that was going to go somewhere. Like, I thought that was going... Like, that was just one section of the movie, like an episode of a TV show. He was just like, and then the blackouts happen. And then, once I figured out, don't drink, the Hangover. Don't drink, they stop. But I still killed a girl, probably, maybe.
We never find out. I've always just been annoyed that the blackouts are there at all, because I think that's just a much less interesting way, and we spend so much time dealing with it. Like, I think it would be way more interesting. He is able to use it the whole time, doesn't run out as much. He runs out so many times, or he's like, oh, I forgot it. I'm like, dude, if you have 100% brain access
That's what I'm saying.
and you keep forgetting the pills, like,
And it's like if you have 100% brain access
Huge
and
plot hole.
he put a huge supply in his jacket and then he's giving his jacket to people. He's like, oh, maybe the jacket clerk. And then he has to call up the girlfriend. And I'm like, why would you not have a stash and then just have like a little pill container for the day and put your daily dose in? You've done it enough by now to know how much you need a day. It just didn't make any sense.
yeah, that would be
Are you
one of the
saying he
first things he
wasn't
would
using
do. is come up with
100% of
a
his
system.
brain? Is that what you're telling me? In the movie Limitless, he wasn't using 100% of his brain on the pill? I don't believe it.
I'd believe it.
No, it got a 7.4, okay? What are we talking about here, guys?
Well, another thing that confused me too is like he starts taking more of it. I'm like, okay, if it's already getting you to 100, what is taking a higher dose do? That never made sense to me. And apparently that seemed to cause it's such a dumb decision. And he's supposed to be smart.
I feel like he did it on the pill, too. Like, while he was on NZT, he was like, what if I take more?
Right. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, he's like, the only way to be smarter is to take more smart drugs.
Yeah, no, wait, that's a big old plot hole, guys. Are you saying this movie isn't?
These movies aren't consistent in their logic? Wow, that's crazy.
There's just so much that feels like it's there to just conveniently make things go wrong in Limitless. Like, it feels like it has to go out of its way to make things go wrong. And I think there's so many, like, I'm not saying, like, having complications are bad. I very much want them there. I just want different complications. Like, make him screw up. Have him miscalculate something. Like, a place that I really want it to go is show us what the limit is of this pill. What is the limit of intelligence? Okay, you can remember everything. You can process everything. What does it not let you do? Like, there's that speech that De Niro gives him at the one point where he's like, you're not as smart as me because you don't know what I know. You haven't had that years of experience that I've had. And it just leaves it at that speech. I would really like to see Limitless explore that more. Where it goes.
It also rejects it at the end. It proves him wrong at the end because he beats him. And I think that's so dumb because that moment in the film was a moment where I actually kind of leaned in more and was like, that's cool. Like, he is winning, he's doing this, but he's not fooling some people. And people are saying, like, we understand you're hanging out with us, but you haven't earned this yet. And you're not going to play us. But then he plays them and he wins. And I'm like, so what does that mean?
I just feel like they could have expanded on the stuff in that De Niro speech to be more like of an actual conflict. Like, maybe show like you're saying, David. Yeah, it's so uninteresting to have Bradley Cooper win.
I thought De Niro was going to be the villain, like the guy behind all of it. I thought they were going to use him for something like that, but he was just rich guy number one, Carl.
I would have loved seeing more of that.
Me too, because I think that would have kind of richened up all of that conflict that we're getting from him kind of doing bits with this pill and being like, oh God, Homer Simpson doy, I forgot, let me go get my pill. But it's like, oh, we could have actually had, especially De Niro of all people, a powerhouse actor doing a villain role, like actually seeing that conflict, seeing them go to war. But instead he just sits down and he's like, Carl, we'll talk to you tomorrow, we need to take a break. And he's like, I don't think we will. Close his door.
I already believed De Niro. Once I saw De Niro was in this, I already believed him as the villain before he showed up on screen. And then he was just like, what's the dude's name? I forget.
Carl Van Loon.
No, Bradley.
Oh,
Cooper.
Eddie.
It's like, Eddie, buddy. It's like, no, what are you doing? No, you have Robert De Niro. Use him. Why are you using him as a friend? And then, okay, maybe he might turn to the antagonist. Oh, wait, the movie's over.
To that, because like the whole thing at the end where he's like, he calls him out for using the drugs and everything, make that like at the midpoint, make him be like, I know you're doing drugs, you're not gonna fool me, I can be your supplier, stick with me, you're not gonna fall down. And then that could have been the conflict that pushed us to the rest of the movie, because how do you deal with someone who's giving you everything but is killing you? But we don't get that.
It could also be interesting to have, like, I feel like the obvious thing for a villain in this movie is to also have them be on NZT. De Niro's not. He doesn't seem interested in using it. And I feel like that could be an even more interesting thing for a villain. And
You
like
think
you're
you're the
saying,
smartest
they
person in the
prime him
room.
for it, but
You
he's
think
not.
you're the smartest person in the room. Don't make that classic smart guy mistake of thinking they're the
Hmm.
smartest in the room or whatever he said. I was like, that's a cold line.
It is. And he goes
Yeah.
into manufacturing it because he wants to sell it because he knows it's going to be a big business. So it just makes sense for him. He's smart enough to know not to take it. He's not going to take his own product. He's just going to distribute it.
I would have rather forget the rest of the movie. Like, I think I honestly would have rather see that happen. Like, I wanted to see past, more of De Niro and that whole thing once he bought the thing. Like, forget whatever I'm already forgetting. Maybe I need to take NZT. Forget everything else. Like, I wanted to see more of, okay, he bought the company, and like what I think Evan just said, like, okay, what do you do about the person that's now on your side, but like supplying you with something that's killing you? I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see him turn villain. Like, once Eddie was like, all right, I'm done. You can't be done, Eddie. You're never out of this game.
Yeah, full Kevin Spacey and Baby Driver. Just like, you're going to do this till I let you out.
I didn't watch Baby Driver yet, but yeah.
Well, Kevin Spacey in anything.
Yeah, I would have rather. I wanted to see that. Like, what happens after he closes the door? Where does Robert go? Does he go
Right?
back to the? Oh, we don't get to see that because we need the zany ending. What?
I'm a different man.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier when I was like, I feel like Limitless jumps to like the most boring place for the ending. Like you're saying, Jelani, like I want to see everything in between him shooting, like him killing the Russian dudes in his apartment and the scene that it ends with. That seems like there could have been so much more interesting stuff happening there. And we don't get a sense of any of it.
The editing made me feel like I was on NZT myself. I really did
Yeah.
not like that. Like, I normally don't. Editing is supposed to be an invisible art. No, I noticed it. It was annoying.
It reminds me of Sherlock. Both the editing in both of these movies reminds me of Sherlock.
Mm.
I actually like. I find that to be one of the more engaging things about it. I think it's a little bit of a basic approach to like what does being smart look like in a filmmaking sense, but like they do. I thought they do adequately with it.
All right.
Do we have more issues with the premise? Because I have one more question.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we can expand this out beyond the ending. My question is, what feels like a better ending for something with this premise? And we can draw from both movies or ignore them as much as you want. Just something with the premise of a drug lets you use 100%. And again, you can bring it beyond what's a better ending.
Kill him.
I'm not mad
Kill
at
the
that.
main. Kill the main character at the end. I don't know how. Probably just from the drug use.
Well, that's the thing is, and it's so this concept permeates through so much of sci-fi. I think the first time I got exposed to this is in a Jimmy Neutron episode when the Sid or whatever his friend gets that piece that Jimmy makes, and it makes his brain 100%, and it's huge, and he becomes the villain for the episode. And it's like
Carl.
No, it wasn't Carl. Carl's the one
Oh,
who's like
Sheen,
croissant.
Sheen. He
Sheen.
had
I
the
knew it was
big-
the S
big
name.
head. Yes,
Yeah,
I
I knew it was
remember
the S name. So Sheen, and it becomes that whole thing, and like obviously they're not gonna kill Sheen because it's a kids show. So they have essentially the relinquishment of that power. I think that's ultimately what has to happen, whether it's a conscious or subconscious or an external effort by other characters. There has to be a relinquishment of this power because no one can be God. It's just not. None of us are. And it's delusional to think so.
Yeah, I think there's a version of that I could be okay with. Like, that on its own, I think doesn't save either of these, or like, that doesn't make a good movie for this premise, but I think there is a way to have that be the ending, and that's the right ending for, you gotta write the rest of the movie in front of it, but I can see that being a good ending, whether they die or not.
They'd have the balls to kill either one of them at the end. I really thought I thought Lucy was going to die over dude because she was saying she was going to die, but then she exploded into everything.
Well, that's why when I was specifically Limitless, I was constantly drawing the connection to Uncut Gems because Howard, although not on drugs, is constantly just ruining his life through addiction. And this dude, Eddie, is ruining his life through addiction, but he's able to save it and then make a better life for himself. And Howard's addiction eventually catches up to him, and then bam, that ending. It really caught me off guard, but they had the balls to kill him. Spoiler alert.
Damn it.
So
Nah, I should have watched it by then. That's my fault. Go ahead.
my jaw was on the floor because I was like, that's the only way. I was like, this is the only way it happened. And then they do it, and it's just very well done. And I was like, okay, that's real. And that's kind of what I'm more drawn to in filmmaking and storytelling. And this, like we've talked about already, I don't know what to make of it. And I think, especially at the rating and what we've seen, and he's sticking needles in people's eyes, like killing someone's not that far of a stretch for this film. So I think, maybe he has to die. Maybe he needs to eventually become president and be terrible and then get assassinated by the people.
Yeah, I know the show, the kind of sequel show that they have for the Limitless movie does kind of give hints to what Eddie does. I don't know where it goes, but I think they do kind of show a bit of like, this is his real plan, or like this is what he's doing now, even though he's not the main character in it, apparently.
Having him die by assassination would actually be kind of crazy. Like, he reached his ultimate goal, but like that just proves, like, even though you're smart, that doesn't mean everybody's gonna agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or that everyone likes you. Like, you can be the smartest person in the room, but what if no one wants you in that room?
That's another good point. Like, that wasn't ever touched on, I don't think, in either movie. Like, what if people just don't mess with you like that? Like, okay, you can be smart, that doesn't mean you're likable. Like, I'm surprised nobody said he was a know-it-all or anything like that.
Right. Well, and they also skip over, like, all of a sudden he's on NZT and he's rubbing shoulders with like all these high-class, pretty people.
He made a couple of friends, is what he said, and then they cut to a beach in somewhere.
Europe.
Not in America.
Vague Europe.
The beach was not close by.
That's what I was saying. Like, it was such that BS kind of narration in the late early 2000s, winking, and I was like, stop, this is bad.
Both of these are just such wasted potential. My ending that I thought of, I think I'd want it to be something that shows, I was kind of talking about this earlier, like it shows the benefits and the limits of having more intelligence. Because I'm okay with the cautionary tale. I don't think you need it to be a cautionary tale, though. I think there's a way of doing this where you can show, like, there is good aspects to having more knowledge, being
I thought
smarter.
you were going to say drug use.
No. Well, yeah, like, if you want to make it a cautionary tale about drugs, like, I'm okay with that, too. From
I feel like
sci-fi,
that's a plain way of going. Like, I would probably like these movies less if that's what they were talking about.
I agree. And from a sci-fi perspective, I would be kind of frustrated with that. I'm even frustrated with how much it, like, I don't feel like Limitless really comes off as like a drugs are bad cautionary tale, but
I thought it was going to.
That like when it's showing his withdrawal symptoms, like that's usually the sections of the movie that I'm the most checked out of because it's not doing the premise at that point. And that's kind of why I like In Time, because it does the premise the whole time. And I feel like this, I guess Lucy does the premise the whole time too.
He catches his girlfriend like he didn't catch his mom, Evan. That's poetry, bro.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And time is money. And they really milked that for all it's worth.
Really money. Time was money. In the coffee was like 7 minutes, Evan. That's ridiculous. They probably went to Starbucks. I'm sorry.
Probably. I love In Time. It's not that great of a movie, but like I love In Time because of the existence of movies like this.
Did you know Justin Timberlake? Is
Justin Timberlake?
Yeah, he gets it.
Alrighty.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, so I'm totally fine with making fun of it. But I do like that movie.
I saw it once and was disappointed by the end, but like you said, they did stick to the premise. So
yeah, we can do a lot with a day.
He had like How much time did he have? I was gonna say how much money.
He has like 108 years or whatever.
Something crazy like that. Everybody looking at it like it's a lot of time you got on your arm, but
108. Does it show?
what is that? I didn't get
No,
that.
no, it's a line from the movie with the guy that he takes the
I
time
told
from.
you I saw it once. Why would you think I remembered that, Evan? David
I
didn't
don't know.
see
There's nothing like super well. There's no super well known lines from that movie. So
it. There wouldn't be. There wouldn't be.
anyway, I'll finish out my I'll finish out the ending I would give. I was thinking like make a protagonist who values knowledge and intelligence above everything else. They're like they kind of believe what Eddie does at the beginning, where it's like if I was smarter, everything in my life would work out.
Make
And
him
then
a professor. They like knowledge.
maybe, maybe.
Like Morgan Freeman.
Sure, Morgan Freeman's character in Lucy might be a better protagonist for this than the other. He's certainly better of a protagonist than Lucy. So he might not actually. That might be the move. But by the end of it, I want it to show like, do what Robert De Niro's speech is talking about, but show it. Show us like, does intelligence and knowledge not give you? Where is it limited? And like you could make it I think this would be a very cheap and simple way to do it. But like if Eddie's whole goal is like if I'm smart, my girlfriend will get back together with me and then he's wrong. I would hate that. It would still kind of be doing like the theme that I'm talking about. I would like it to be something much deeper than that.
It's like Eddie Brock and Venom. Now that I have this symbiote alien, my girlfriend will get back together with me. I feel like that's what he was hoping would happen, but it didn't.
Because he bites her head off, maybe. I haven't seen either movie.
You don't need to.
I would like to see something that doesn't take it like if it ends up being a cautionary tale, I'm okay with it. I would want the premise to be explored the whole time. Don't have withdrawal stuff. Don't add in weird complications. Like have them have full brain. You don't even have to have them have full brain access the whole time. Like they can be on and off for some of it, but also definitely show what multiple characters do with this ability. Give us some contrast.
Also, why weren't more people freaked out? Why do you know that about me? Oh, I'm just very observant. Nah, bro. What you know? Like the only like concern we saw from anybody was the landlord's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, she was like, "Are you a creep?" He's like, "No, I read that book," or whatever he said. And I was just like, wait, that's kind of a good point. Why is nobody else concerned with why he knows as much? Like they keep talking about it, but like nobody's freaked out by it. Like, dude, what?
Right, like De Niro says, like I'm baffled by this guy, and that's
I know. Baffled.
Like he's sus.
This dude is doing illegal drugs, and he's saying the most sus stuff, and he's getting it right, and you're baffled.
And then
That's
he even
the wrong
admits
word.
it. They put this. I remember they put this in the trailer for Limitless, where it's like, "What's your secret? Medication." Why are you showing your hand like that?
For the smartest guy
big
ever.
brain, because that is just classic reverse psychology. Because then he thought he was joking, but he really wasn't. Knowledge, Evan, use it or lose it.
No, maybe it's just because of what I'm more into, but yeah, if I was to write this and want it to be something I would enjoy and have a good ending, I would do the knowledge route, make him someone who's analytical and kind of cold already, not like sociopathic, but you can just tell he's not the most empathetic person, and then let the drug kind of do it Lucy a little bit and make him just more cold and more just people are numbers and like superiority complex, and but not go full tilt like Lucy does with superpowers, and just have him like I'd make him a murderer. Have him be great and be like, all right, that's how I'm climbing the chain to the presidency. Like I'd buy that. I'd buy that he understands who he has to play and kill and clean up because he's that smart, and now he's the president. But like that would at least give me some sort of motivation for what he's doing, and like I could believe, okay, he's that smart. But not only is what he's doing so unmotivated beyond I need this drug, but then when he takes the drug, he doesn't seem as smart as this drug is supposed to make him seem, so I'm just left confused.
Make him a killer.
Yeah. Well, I made a list after watching Limitless the first time. I just made like a list of who would be the most interesting characters from anything to see them use NZT 48. I lost it a long time ago. he would have been on there if I'd seen it at that point. I think Jason Bourne was the one I was like most excited about at the time. I was like, ooh, Jason Bourne on NZT.
Any assassin, John Wick, Jason Bourne, what are characters? My mind immediately goes to superheroes, so I'm thinking not that.
No, but like to me, it would be like take someone who's like already kind of like cold, but like smart, and then like this drug pretty much will just turn them into Hannibal Lecter. Like just ridiculous intellect. And like the scariest thing about ridiculous intellect is it knows no bounds.
Yeah,
what if this was the drug at 23 Jump Street?
Oh.
Yeah, 23 Jump Street, and all the people they're trying to arrest, you could tell who's taking the drug, but they're like super smart, so they can't catch him for like interrogation. And then Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, they're back in 23 Jump Street, coming 2023 on February 3rd.
I'd see it. Sounds like there's nothing in the works there, though. They got to get their act together pretty fast.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, because they made the first two, and they're two of my favorite comedies. And they made Into the Spider-Verse, which we got to talk about off episode.
Yeah. I was going to ask this, but I feel like we don't even have to at this point. Which one's better? It sounds like we all three kind of agree Limitless. But
unless they're two peoples.
Yeah. I think the best version of this movie isn't necessarily Limitless, but Limitless would be way easier to work into a better version. Like, I don't know if there's a good version of Lucy because there's so many bad ideas in there from the word go.
Yeah, you would have to just completely rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah.
The only reason I'd ever watch it again is so I understood what was being said in subtitles. It's only like I might only rewatch those scenes so I had a bit more context, but it does not seem like it mattered.
I agree. Still, like, this is why I wanted to do this comparison, though, is like I don't think either of these movies are that interesting on their own, but I liked comparing them like this, which is why I like, as bad as these movies are, I think this is a cool episode.
Stonks.
Yeah, stonks. Well, okay, so to follow up, that was one thing I forgot to say. If Lucy is the 10-year-olds at the lunch table riffing with each other, Limitless is those two 10-year-olds a while later that are now finance bros remembering that conversation and revisiting it with like, yo, you know what we should have done with that? You win Wall Street and then run for office and you freaking rule the world, bro. Get that NFT.
I hate everything, all of that. I don't like whoever those people that you just made up are. Those people.
Just finance bros.
I don't like them.
But is there anything with Lucy in the ending that we could do? Because I honestly, no. Like, wow.
I don't think so.
Just you'd have to, like, the film, you would just need to just redo the whole film.
It's just
lost. Crazy.
It was gone by that point. Like, it was in a different time period at that, like, actually in the movie, and like there was no saving it.
I think also there's a problem with Lucy that it's like it's such an adult movie, or it's not like super hard being like, it's not that hard of an R rating, but it's an R-rated movie that you approached like a pair of 10-year-olds.
I don't even remember any F-bombs.
No, but there's enough blood.
It ain't nothing crazy.
And mom's milk for it to be like, huh?
Please stop.
I think you could have got away with that. It's a light R.
With that action and that line, I don't think you can have both. I think you'd have to pick one, and that would be the PG-13.
I've seen worse in PG-13 movies.
No, I agree.
From 2014?
No, I'm completely lying because I have no examples.
I think I have, though. Like, come to think of it, the action is like, maybe there's just a little too much blood or something.
Too many red dye packs.
That's a really weird line, though, guys. Like, that line is
the
freaky.
milk?
Yeah, that's so uncomfortable. Like, what seventh grader is going to hear that line? Like, that's not okay.
That needs to be its own topic. What the freak were they thinking?
I don't know.
And shout out to Scarlett Johansson, bro. She said that with, I wonder how many takes it took her. Because that looked like one take. They kept zooming in on her face very slowly because that's dramatic. She said that with a straight face.
If I was her, I would have been like, I'm gonna do it right, get it in one, and I'm never have to say this line again, because that's just
Maybe that's what she did.
disturbing. Like, that's just, you're crazy for that.
It started off wacky. I feel everything. Okay, your mom is confused. I thought maybe, like, why did you call your mom?
Yeah, that was my biggest question: is why is she calling her mom in the first place? Both in context of the story and in character.
Right?
It's
That's
so
what I'm saying. They just
pointless.
pick and choose when these effects are applying to these people. That's
I
crazy.
thought I thought the way the mom picked up the phone reminded me of The Office when no, it wasn't Michael Scott. It was Holly, Michael Scott's wife at some point in that show. Her parents had dementia, and it made me think they were maybe going that route because her mom had the same tone of voice. And I thought, oh, that kind of sucks because I thought she was going to when she talked about her father coming back from the gym. I was thinking, oh, her father's dead, isn't she? And she just doesn't remember. And then she kept going and just talking about feeling everything. I was like, okay, maybe not. And then the mom got confused herself, and I was like, okay, this is not going where I thought. Okay, she mentioned milk being in her, tasting the milk. I don't. No, it lost me. It lost me. Why the milk, guys? Please, I need that answered.
I don't know. Luc Besson had some weird ideas for this movie.
She remembered her bones forming. I think the creaking sound.
Like, she said enough before that. Like, she said something about the animal, and they were like, "Oh my God, you were like less than one. How would you know that?" Like, you didn't have to keep going.
No, she kept going. She kept de-aging in the speech, in the monologue. Like, yeah, David, you're right. I would probably cut it off with the animal. Like, oh, you were one. You probably you should remember that. And then then the surgery should have been over. But like, she talked about milk after that.
Where after there just was no one to tell him no. Like,
It
someone should
really
have sat
feels
him
like
down and
that.
been like, "No, like this. Go back and rewrite this."
I feel like there must have been so many times on set where they like people, crew and cast just were remarking on how dumb it is. They're like, so is it like imagine like because there's so much CGI in that ending scene. Luc Besson is telling Morgan Freeman, okay, so now she's turning into this big black goo mountain, and now you're gonna take this flash drive that has all of human knowledge on it.
You want me to do what?
That's what I'm saying. Like, Morgan Freeman
Thank
is
you.
one
I
of
was
the
waiting for
best
that.
living actors to date, and I have never seen him more disengaged in a performance. Like, every line delivery was the exact same. The most diverse thing he did was pause, and I was just like, this dude was catching a check so fast. And I'm glad he did, because that was fat.
The most he acted was at the beginning, and then once he said, "I have no idea," that past that point he checked out. Oh man,
I also made a note because I guess at one point early on, Morgan Freeman talking about sonar. Oh, someone saw the Dark Knight. I see, because he does that
Yeah.
in the Dark Knight. Okay.
I'll give you that, Evan. I don't know. Oh, and the green screen effects were really bad, man. Like, did they try to make them look like they were anywhere but a film studio? It wasn't good.
I don't know. And there's so much VFX work at like when she's scrolling through time at the end. That's a lot of
That
VFX
looked
work.
awful.
There's a ton
The
of VFX
dinosaurs.
work, and even just it like exploding in her like bloodstream when she's eating it, and when she's on the plane, all it just all looks bad.
Chomping down on them blue drugs, them good old blue drugs, blue crystals. Chomping.
It makes so little sense, and it's a good premise. Like either of these could have been. Well, okay, given everything else that's in Lucy, like we're saying, maybe Lucy was kind of doomed from the start because there was just so many dumb ideas. You could make a good movie with this premise, though, and I'm a little sad that they exist too because like you made Limitless, and then Lucy made a whole lot of money, so clearly having one didn't corner the market on it. At this point, now that both of them exist, how long do we have to wait before someone can take another crack at this? Because there's a good movie with this premise out there, and I don't know if we're ever gonna get it.
I think I just heard David fluff his pillow.
Oh, choo 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 choo. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. If it's good, I'll be into it, but it needs to. They need to take it there. Like, if you're going to give someone 100% capacity of their brain, they need to be the most dynamic, enthralling individual, whether that's good or bad, that's going to captivate people, because otherwise people are going to be bored. They might think he's egotistical, pretentious, ignorant. There's going to be plot holes that we've poked a ton through. So you're going to have to write it really tight. So we'll see if anyone is willing to put the time in.
I think there is someone out there who could make this good. I have faith that there could be a good movie with this premise. Nolan's obviously my first instinct. I don't know if he would be the best, but he's done good sci-fi movies and he is given a lot of money to make them. I don't know if he would be interested. The dude who made In Time, he also made Gattaca. He's kind of 2 for 2 on high concept sci-fi.
I don't remember
Give it to him.
Gattaca.
I rewatched Gattaca recently. It holds up. Gattaca's pretty good, IMO.
I just remember a whole lot of talking. I watched that in like 9th grade though, so I don't know.
If that's not on the list of stuff for us to do, I might put it there. That's a good movie.
Why though?
Because it takes an interesting premise. Also, Gattaca, from what I've heard, is actually like the world that is in that movie with like gene editing. That's like actually somewhat possible. We're not like there, but there's a lot of developments that have happened with gene editing since that movie came out. It's not super far-fetched.
The title, there was something we were learning in biology at the time, like all of the letters that made up the title, they're all like, God, there's like 4 different things.
It's the things in DNA. I forget what those things are called, but
it's you know what I'm talking about.
GATC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All of those letters are things in DNA. That's the title. It's DNA.
Mm-hmm. That blew my mind as like a 14-year-old or whatever I was when I saw it. I was like, whoa. Oh, smart.
I have no idea what it means though. I might understand it if it's said in the movie. Is Gattaca said in the movie?
Yeah, because I think
some kind of Gattaca.
Oh, I meant to make the joke earlier that Bradley Cooper's character's name is Limitless. De Niro asked him, "Who's this guy?" Limitless. Nice to meet you, sir.
I hate it. Oh, I hate it. I mean, Lucy already did it, so. Right. Oh man. What is your name? He needs a name. They went back and forth like 3 times before she just said Lucy. And then I pointed at my screen. That's the name. That's the name of the movie.
There it is.
I'm sorry. Now I just reminded myself of Suicide Squad.
Someone asked Justin Timberlake, "Who are you?" "I'm just in time."
Oh, that's probably the worst one. Because it works on like too many different levels. David, you're quiet. Why are you quiet?
I mean, I'm really lost right now, man. I don't know where this conversation went.
Who's this guy? Some kind of pursuit of happiness?
Oh, God.
And that's why I'm just clicking through movies and finding more. That's why I have to become Minority Report.
Will you stop?
Movie with a Nero-activated drug.
Really?
Yeah, he hunts people down who use it.
That's not Minority Report. No, that's Future Crime.
And in Minority Report, that's one of the B plots.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. Do we have anything else you want to say about these?
No.
Okay. I'm trying to go with more movie title puns.
Stop it. Quit while you're ahead.
Okay. I'll stop. Upcoming episodes, we've got iRobot is going to be our next one. And then I don't know if this will be immediately after that, but we're going to do one on Glass Onion after it drops on Netflix in a couple weeks.
If one of the robots does not say, "Hi, I'm iRobot" in the movie, I don't want to watch it no more.
Well, it's got Will Smith, so he could... What is this? Some kind of iRobot?
Anyways.
We got our Patreon for $1 a month. Check out our YouTube channel. Just today, as we're recording this, we dropped a new video on the first 2 Kingsman movies. By the time you guys hear this, it'll probably have been out for a few days, but
looks
that's
like
up there.
You put a lot of work into that one.
I did put a lot of work into that.
Go watch that, yo.
It's a good video.
Yes.
I got that idea after we did the Patreon episode about it. I hope it's decent. You can give us ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. Our logo is by Kelsey Hendry. I am on Letterboxd at ev_Wes. And where are both of you?
Oh, you deleted Twitter, right?
I did delete Twitter.
You deleted the Interior Analysis Twitter too?
I deleted both of them, yes.
Cool. Well, I am still on Twitter for the time being. I don't know for how long. At Jelani T. Kelly. Instagram, Jelani T. Kelly. YouTube, Jelani T. Kelly as well. Still haven't uploaded in forever. It's there for old skits.
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere really in either of these movies that I would like to be, so it's almost Christmas time, so I'll be in the North Pole with Santa, just making cookies with Mrs. Claus, hanging out with enslaved elves, doing what we do best.
You could be in Bradley Cooper's $8 million fortress apartment.
At which point, though? Like, while he's, like, drugged out of his mind with the security guards that are ready to kill me, or after it gets torn apart by the Russian cartel?
I don't know. I feel like it's the most notable location in either of these movies.
You can find David jumping through time using 99% of his brain.
Or I'm everywhere. That's better. I'm
Oh,
everywhere.
there you go. He's
And
everywhere.
now we've been alive for 1 billion years, and now you know what to do.
Now we know what to do with our lives. Thank y'all for watching.
See you next time.